Nox's, and the great dungeon disaster. Nox, still smarting from the Felucca debacle, decided a change of scenery was in order. Not a change of attitude, mind you, but a change of locale. Dungeons. That's where the real heroes were made, or at least where they died spectacularly. First stop, the bank. Their meager gold hoard, still smelling faintly of that questionable lard, was about to be put to good use. Or, more accurately, to very, very bad use. The shopping spree began. Nox, with their usual keen eye for value, found a vendor named Grimoire, whose stall reeked of stale fish and even staler promises. Genuine magical mace, friend, only slightly used by a grand wizard who, retired to a farm. Grimoire rasped, pushing a rusty, dented mace across the counter. Nox, ignoring the obvious rust and the fact that the magical glow was clearly painted on, paid double its worth. Then came the Greater Cure potion, a murky liquid that smelled suspiciously like watered-down grog. For all your greater ailments. Grimoire cackled. Nox nodded sagely. Armed with their new, highly questionable gear, Nox swaggered towards Despise, one of Britannia's less than welcoming dungeons. The entrance, a gaping maw in the earth, seemed to mock their bravado. "Fear not, foul beasts," Nox declared to the empty air, drawing their newly acquired rusty mace. They held a sputtering torch aloft, its feeble light barely pushing back the encroaching shadows. This was it. Their moment. Their heroic debut. One step. That's all it took. One glorious, confident step into the darkness, and then, whoosh, the ground vanished beneath them. Nox plunged into a hidden pit trap, landing with an undignified thud. The torch flew from their hand, extinguishing with a hiss. In the sudden darkness, pairs of glowing red eyes materialized. Mungbats, a whole pack of them, staring down at Nox like they were the main course at a very unexpected dinner party. Scrambling out of the pit, bruised but mostly intact, Nox found their first true dungeon foe, a scrawny rat. It scurried past, oblivious. Nox, still hyped on adrenaline, swung their mace with all the ferocity of a seasoned warrior. The mace missed by a mile, but the rat, perhaps startled by the sheer ineptitude, tripped over a loose rock and expired with a tiny squeak. "Ha! Take that, vermin!" Nox crowed, puffing out their chest. "Another one bites the dust. Who needs skill when you have aggressive presence?" Feeling invincible, Nox spotted a shimmering pile of loot nearby, a common sight in dungeons, often left by less thorough adventurers. Ignoring the faint, heavy thudding sounds that were slowly growing louder, Nox began rummaging through the corpse, hoping for something valuable. Perhaps a shiny new dagger. Or maybe a slightly less watered-down grog. Meanwhile, two towering Ettins, their brutish faces twisted in confusion, slowly lumbered closer, their clubs dragging on the ground. Just as Nox was about to discover a truly magnificent piece of lint, a figure strolled casually into the cavern. A red-named player. APK, Vex. He waved, a polite, almost friendly gesture, then drew a gleaming blade. Nox, still trying to remember where the last target macro was, found themselves staring at a gray screen faster than a rubber-banding mage could cast Explosion. They were dead. Again. Back at the healer, resurrected and still half-naked, Nox fumed. Not only had they died, but Vex hadn't even bothered to loot them. Instead, a small, unassuming bag lay on the ground where Nox's corpse had been. Inside, a single, perfectly ripe banana. It was a twisted calling card, a silent, fruity insult. "A banana?" Nox roared, startling a passing stable master. "This means war, a war of produce." Revenge. It was the only cure for a bruised ego and a banana-induced existential crisis. Nox, still sans pants, stumbled into the local tavern, where a group of burly, perpetually drunk miners were loudly debating the merits of various ale brands. "Friends. Comrades," Nox slurred, gesturing wildly. I propose an epic dungeon cleansing. We shall rid Despise of its foul beasts and even fouler PKs. The miners, Sven and Grog, looked at each other, then at Knox's lack of attire. Our plan, Knox continued, leaning in conspiratorially, involves fishing poles, strategically placed fire fields, and at least one goat. To Knox's utter astonishment, the miners, fueled by cheap ale and an inexplicable sense of adventure, agreed. Aye, for the glory of fishing poles, Sven bellowed, hoisting his pickaxe. Grog, equally enthusiastic, stumbled forward, nearly tripping over his own feet. The plan, as vague and ridiculous as it was, had somehow gained traction. The motley crew, consisting of a half-naked, banana-obsessed adventurer and two roaring drunk miners, marched towards the dungeon entrance. The air was thick with misplaced confidence, the stench of stale ale, and the faint bleating of an unseen goat. Despise awaited its new, utterly unprepared conquerors.